My name is Stacy Swenson and I'm a rangeland management specialist. The Sheyenne National Grassland is a tallgrass prairie ecosystem. We're just on the edge of the tallgrass prairie and mixed grass prairie ecosystems. And so the main tallgrass prairie species that occur here would be Big Bluestem, Switchgrass, and Indian grass. Other mixed grass species also occur here in abundance. Okay, so you can see this plant right here is Big Bluestem. Big Bluestem is one of those iconic tallgrass prairie plants. It can grow 5 to 7 feet tall, so it could actually be quite a bit taller than me. If it was a wetter year, it's kind of a dry year this year, so it's not quite as tall. You can see it grows very tall, and then it has a robust base to it. That provides cover for pollinators over the winter. It also is great cover for grouse species. Big Bluestem is also called turkey foot. Sometimes people refer to it as turkey foot because of the turkey foot that the seed head forms. And it has very deep roots, making it a very great native plant. Another kind of iconic tallgrass prairie plant is switchgrass. You can tell switchgrass from the really hairy area here between the leaf and the stem. You can see it's full of hair right there. So that's switchgrass. It's another kind of iconic tallgrass prairie species. This is Indian grass. This is kind of a shorter one right now this year just because it's drier here, but you can see the seed head is kind of clumped together versus we have Big Bluestem right here beside it. It's a very different type of seed head. And again, it gets a really nice robust bottom where there's a lot of vegetation and cover for different species for their habitat. It provides great habitat as well. It's a big clump of little bluestem here. This is another really iconic plant it's not a tall plant, but it's like a mid-type grass. But it is definitely a huge part of the native prairie species and provides really great cover. You can see it's a really bunchy type grass, and so it provides great habitat for other species, and it does provide a lot of forage for grazing as well. It's important to have native composition in a prairie because all those plants create an environment that provide habitat for many different types of wildlife species and for just many different types of plant species. So when you change the different plants that occur on a prairie, you're changing the functional groups that are occurring on the prairie, and you're changing how that prairie works. The native tallgrass prairie on the Sheyenne National Grassland is for the most part in the invaded state. This means that we have a lot of invasive species occurring. So the main invasive species that we find on the grassland here are leafy spurge, which is a noxious weed that occurs here and covers most of the uplands and mid-sites on the grassland. We also have Kentucky bluegrass, which occurs in the same areas. So this is leafy spurge. You can see it's all of this green leaf. It's just it's a noxious weed, and we have it on a lot of the grassland. Again, it's one of those plants that forms a monoculture. A lot of times we have leafy spurge and Kentucky bluegrass together, which again, Kentucky bluegrass is an invasive grass. Then we get spurge, a noxious weed, and so they form this, habitat that's just those two plants. So as we lose diversity in the prairie, we lose ecological services. So ecological services being things like providing habitat and forage and even like nutrient and water cycling capabilities. When you have a change in plants, then it changes the ecological services that are provided. You can just see that monoculture of leafy spurge and Kentucky bluegrass just has overtaken this area. So this year it's been quite dry here, and so these grasses, specifically the Kentucky bluegrass, are pretty dried up just because their root base is so short. Their roots only go a few inches in the ground versus the native tallgrass species go 10 to 15 feet in the ground. And so the native species do much better in drought conditions just because they have that great root base that have helped them adapt to drought conditions that are a frequent occurrence on prairies. It's very difficult to get back to an actual native plant community because it takes so much effort restoration-wise to get back to that state. You have to do extensive restoration work to get back to what we would consider an actual native state.